All right, Davis. I know it's been a little while since we've recorded any of these. We've just had stuff going on in life, and in the big picture, this isn't that important. But I thought, this evening we could do one of two things. We could have like an all-night sex bender for the fourth time this week,
Okay.
or we could get in here and talk about sex.
Have sex or talk about sex.
I know it's like,
And you chose talk?
we're not making the right decision.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then.
In all seriousness, I just thought we should get back to it a little bit, right? And there's been a topic related to sex that I always get a kick out of talking to you about, especially on something public like this, because
Oh, stop. My jaw
I was
hurts
gonna
already.
say you get the smile and you're like, why are we talking about this in public? Anyway, so let me set the stage. Let me read you.
I'm so out of the loop. Usually I'm in the loop to almost guess what the topic is going to be. I've been so head down and buried. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So there was a account this week called the Uncharted Father.
Okay.
That made a post, and it's gone kind of viral. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I'm looking at it right now. It's had millions of impressions. I think 3.1 at this point. So
Okay.
pretty decent coverage of this post, and I've seen a lot of people sharing it and talking about it, and everybody's got their views on it. But he also made some people kind of upset, right? So here's what he said. He said, so let me set the backstage a little bit. There's been a lot of call for pornography to be banned on X.
Okay.
So because I like Cayenne.
Kanye.
Why do I always call him Cayenne?
You have
I have no idea because
problem pronouncing things.
Well, and I'm just like, I don't really. This isn't a person I'd listen to, but I know who they are because they're famous, right? And I can't ever remember their name.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know. He went on some tirade and was posting pornography apparently on his timeline. He has a lot of followers, and so called for this big thing about it. So people started talking about porn and all this stuff. So that's kind of, I think, kind of like how this topic came up.
Okay.
And why people are calling ban porn, and everybody's got their views. But this guy in particular, with this viral post, said, majority of porn would vanish if wives lost weight and were their husband's personal porn star. So you and I have kind of touched on this topic before in one of these, right?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. And I don't think that you do either.
True.
Yeah. So I think, but it upsets some people, right? Like there were like wives don't want to hear, maybe not even just wives, but some wives don't want to hear that they are. I don't know if it's they don't believe they have any responsibility for the sexual pleasure of their husband. They don't want to put the work in. I don't know what that is, but I had made a comment basically that, I think a husband who's faced with having, I can't remember exactly what I said, but something along the lines of, he's got the choice between having like this hot, fit, uninhibited wife to have sex with, or porn-like sex, whatever that means. And I know that means probably a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Sure.
But, that's why I'm just going to say like uninhibited, right? Like good sex with his wife, or, choosing to look at some chick that he's never going to be with in his hand. Like, I mean, to me, that's a pretty easy, like, you're going to choose real sex, right?
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with what the guy said at all. I don't know what the spirit was in which he was saying it, or what the kind of what his personal backstory is with that. But I think just as a standalone statement, I think it's pretty true. I think more the better someone's sexual life, the less they're going to go looking for something better outside. I mean, if you have the best thing that you can imagine in your marriage, in your sexual life, like, why are you going to go seeking something else?
Yeah.
So that's it. Episode over, right?
Right. I mean, it's not that complicated. Men are not that complicated.
I think in this regard, no.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's sex is important to men, right? And
Yeah.
I think sex is also important to women.
Yes.
But kind of like the hierarchy of things, like men, when women are looking for a mate or, having their needs met, sex is probably not the number one thing at the top of that list.
No.
But for men, it probably is the top of the list thing, right? It's gonna if it's not, it's gonna be like very, very close to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's really what men. No matter how we feel about it.
Yeah. Looks and sex, right? They're sort of duking it out for number one for you guys.
Well, I mean, it's going to add to the sexual experience. The more attracted you are to the girl that you're having sex with, right? Your wife, hopefully. That's going to make it a more enjoyable experience. So, I mean, there is a visual component to it, right? I mean,
because not everybody has the same ideal body shape.
Sure.
Exactly the same ideal. Now, there are general ideals, but...
Yeah, men have their nuances of things that they like, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. But there's general things, right? I mean, I think most guys could look at 10 women lined up and, 95% of those guys are going to say, like, these are the two best looking women in that group.
Oh, okay.
I think it's,
Sure.
I think that's pretty universal. I don't really know what that has to do with this topic as far as...
Well, I mean, because, I'm always wanting to defend... I mean, I'm not in for the everybody movement. Like, I do think there's a certain point in time when your comorbidity markers are too high and you're too heavy. But I don't believe that every woman needs to be stick skinny either.
Sure.
Right? Like, and so that's what I'm just fighting against here is that, like, I know your type, and I know not all women out there are your type.
Yeah.
But some women who are a little bit curvier, should we say, are some other men's type. And those women are still perfectly healthy and probably very fit.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is like...
I think we agree. I mean, it's nuanced a little bit, right?
I think my margin is a little bigger.
So you think my saying 10 women lined up, 95% of the men are going to say 2 is it. You think that's not true?
I think maybe the top 5 in a little bit of a shuffled order and then the bottom 5 in a little bit of a shuffled order, but I don't think it's
maybe we're picturing a different lineup of women. maybe that's it, right? Because I'm picturing kind of like...
Are you picturing like a 1 through 10? I'm picturing like a selection of like 6 through 10s.
Okay.
And
gotcha.
like... like the orders are going to be like in general, they're all attractive women.
Yeah. Well, I think for a lot of men, generally speaking, that's why I say 95%, because I never want to say 100%. There's always going to be some kind of outlier, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if there's a woman that's over a certain BMI, for example,
right,
that's
yes.
out.
Right. So
right?
I'm talking about women that are all within a healthy BMI range.
Okay.
But like subtle differences in their faces, like some have big boobs, little boobs, nice butts, flat butts. Like
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so your lineup I think looked a little different than mine.
Okay.
I was thinking more of just like a cross section of the average women that are out there, and you're more saying no. You want 10 like 6 to 10 rated women that are all in a healthy BMI.
Yeah.
Okay.
These 10 women, all men are going to look at and be like, yeah, they're all attractive. But that's when you were like, there's only 2 attractive women in there. And I was like, oh, wait, no.
Gotcha. So,
okay.
So in your scenario, we've got 10 attractive women.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. But of varying BMIs, but all healthy BMIs.
All healthy, right? No one would look at any of these women and say, oh, that girl is overweight,
right?
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
Fitness has a range, right? Like, yeah.
And
I think it's important to play to your husband's desires as well.
Yeah. If you're married, you should both, and I try to stress this and say both. You should both be doing what you can within your ability to meet the needs of your spouse, be that your husband or your wife, right? I mean, that's going to be part of a healthy marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those things are not necessarily the same things.
Right.
Yeah.
Very different things, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me just go back to this real quick. So we've got 10
socially
healthy,
standard wise,
hot
pretty
women.
women. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would agree in that scenario. It's a little wider, right? Like 95% of the men they're not going to pick two of those women. Probably. I'd agree with that. I don't know what the number
there's
is.
going to be a shuffle.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're all attractive women. Some are skinnier or leaner than others. Some are a little curvier than others. So like there's preferences there, right? Like everybody likes a donut, but not everybody likes the same kind of donut, right? But all donuts are good. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Not too many donuts because then you have the BMI problem we're talking about, right? Yeah.
One every now and then.
Yeah, now and again they're okay. Everything in moderation. So, okay. Where were we going with this? Why were we talking about this?
Well, because you were talking about looks and sex kind of being important for men.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're duking it out for the top. And then, like I always like to make sure that I'm not just talking about my body type, that I'm accepting of more than just my body type.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. Because there's a lot of different. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's not one particular type of woman that is the type of woman. Like, there's nuances to what each.
There's a healthy line of nuances, and you could reasonably agree that woman is attractive in her own right.
Right.
Yeah. I could agree with that. So what is it when someone says, I'm using the word uninhibited, somebody else is saying porn-like. I don't, and I mean, I think even that is a little bit hard to, because it's like everything in life, right? I mean, there's like everything from probably like mild to like crazy out there.
Well, I think it's just like the looks conversation. You need to decide where you guys land on that scale.
Yeah.
Right? So, there's like things that the husband wants and
yeah, so what it kind of I'm gonna refrain from saying which family member it is, but we have a family member who
my cheeks hurt already. Stop. I don't even know what you're gonna say.
Who was had a girl that he was dating for about 2 or 3 years. Oh. And he would say what about her? He was like, it was like the best sex, right? Like,
yeah, the relationship was just in the trash. But he wouldn't break up with her because she would, quote, do anything in bed.
Yeah.
That was the quote. Right. That was the
That's
quote.
What he would say, yeah. And we always wondered, we were like, what does that mean?
I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? So like,
I mean, I was like, I feel like, I'm pretty adventurous, but do I do anything in bed? Like, I don't know. What is that?
What is anything? Yeah.
I mean, because the
question that comes to mind is like, well, I mean, what is out there that I don't even know is a thing? Maybe there's like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. We've been married so long. Like, are we missing out on something?
Right. Like, what is the anything? It's like, I think about it like a kind of a scale of like sexual adventureness. And it's like, I mean, you and I are really comfortable with each other. We've been a long time together, right? Like, I can't imagine anything that would be like out of bounds, but
maybe there is.
But maybe that line goes another 10 miles past where I think it goes. Like, I don't know.
Part of me is like, what is anything? And the other part of me is like, whoa. Like, I'm quite comfortable in my box. Maybe I don't want to know.
But whatever that was for him, whatever that, like, she'll do anything.
Yeah.
Like, that when this conversation started happening, like, that was kind of where my mind went, was like thinking about that conversation. And like, for him, like, if you were going to define something as like porn-like, I don't really know what was going on. I'm not asking. I'm not going to ask that kind of question.
No.
But it does kind of like, he was like addicted to sex with her. It was like, it was whatever was happening there was addictive. It to the point that like every other aspect of that relationship was complete trash. He was miserable. You know, she was arguably miserable, but they had some kind of sexual connection that it was like they went on for years.
Yeah.
Because of that. And so, you know, to me, that just lends a lot of credibility to this, what we're saying, which is like, hey, if the sex is good enough, like it really is good for your marriage. I mean, imagine having a sexual relationship, like whatever this she'll do anything was, like imagine actually having that in a good relationship, right? Like you can imagine how building and you know, like just solid and what's the word I'm looking for? Insulating. Like it really insulates the marriage, I guess.
I mean, in the example we're using, the relationship was crap though. All that does is give the woman security.
But that's not what we're talking about. I'm saying in a relationship where it's everything's good, right?
Yeah.
Like the sex is whatever that level of sex was for him. It's like addictive, right?
Yeah.
And you actually have a good relationship.
Yeah.
Right. That's like a win-win.
Right.
Like everything is going to be good.
Yes.
Right. And I think in you know, if people look at us and they're like, how have you guys been together 30 plus whatever years we've been together? I mean, I think we've had a good, you know, sexual connection our whole relationship, right? Like it's always been good.
Yeah.
You know, like I could look at somebody and be like, oh, like we'll do anything. Like I don't really know what that means apparently, because I think that scale is somewhere, right? But like that is kind of how I feel about our relationship, and I think you feel the same way, right? It's like it's good. It's like I've never left for like wanting in our sexual relationship, right? And we have talked about in the past. I mean, there are periods where you know, like we've had 3 kids, there's been pregnancies, there's been stuff, right? You're going to have some ebbs and flows. And I think it's important to realize, you know, that's part of kind of where the commitment comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because I have seen some people screaming, no, it's just commitment. The wife she doesn't have to give whatever this porn-like thing is, whatever we're tying to that, whatever behavior that is.
Yeah.
And I would say I would agree during seasons. Yeah. Right. Because that's just, you know, like we've talked about before, like I love our kids to death. Right. Mm-hmm. But like, I do not find like a pregnant woman. It's pretty repulsive to me. Yeah. Right? So, cool thing that God created, the whole pregnancy thing. It's a miracle, all that. Right. But being attractive, no.
It's not sexy.
Yeah. So, you know, those are, no matter how wild a pregnant woman may want to get, for me, I'm like, yeah, not so much, right? But that's where the commitment comes in, right? Because you have really good relationship up to that point, really good sexual relationship up to that point. I mean, that's how you end up pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. And it's okay. Like, you know, I as the man, I'm not going through 9 months of, you know, do anything porn like sex, whatever that means, or lack of it. You know, I'm just like, hey, we're going to get past this. The pregnancy is going to end and we're going to get back to it. Right. So like, I do think there's some truth to that. Like you can't reasonably expect your wife to be on point for whatever that is. And women have hormones too, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a term that we've used, you know, for decades in our marriage of, you know, middle of the month, right? And that is like the time when like your hormones are ovulating or whatever it is that women do, that like whatever that thing is that women do. But it's, you know, you are more.
You can say it. I'm more fun.
You're more fun. Yeah. It's more sexually fun. Right. Yeah. So like, you know, I mean, I look forward to those times in the month. Now that again, we're entering another period of life where we're getting older, right? We're in our 50s now. And, you know, that's just a fact, it's like being pregnant, right? So like you're,
no, I am not like being.
well, but it's the same thing where it's like you're
so hurt.
That's not what I mean.
I
I
know,
don't. I still find you very attractive. You know this, right? But what I meant by that is like this middle of the month. It's
less
not.
predictable.
It's less predictable.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. Right. It's less predictable. It's like it used to be like in our like 20s, 30s, into our 40s. You know, it's like pretty reliably, like every number of weeks, like it's going to be this kind of like wild, you know, time period that I very much enjoyed. And now it's getting less predictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we're entering another one of those seasons, right? But
Yeah.
that's okay, right? I mean, that is normal. I think we have to kind of allow for normal. We are human beings. We are going to have human being things happen to us. Everybody cannot be on point 100% of the time. And if you're expecting that of someone, you're very unreasonable.
Yeah.
And I think you need to do a lot of kind of self-reflection and,
For sure.
you know, really kind of to deal with yourself, you know, harshly a little bit in terms of like really questioning, like, what is your motive?
There's been very few times that I can remember that either one of us has ever been like, no, sex is not happening tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because never have I ever regretted having sex.
Yeah, I know. You've said that before.
Yeah. I mean, there's been, you know, sicknesses or like, I really do have a headache tonight. Like, it just.
Yeah, very rarely. I mean,
Yeah.
I can count the number of times that you were probably like, no, I just don't feel well enough. I mean, we've been together 30 plus years. I mean, I was being honest. I could probably count it on two hands, but I think I'd be struggled to count it more than that. It's like very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've done pretty good
Yeah.
in that realm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, we're still here. I think we have a pretty good life and, you know, we enjoy each other a lot. Right. But if you were going to, I'm asking you, you know, so I think we've established, we pretty much agree with what the guy said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a healthy component of you should not be holding back sexually from your husband, nor should your husband be holding back sexually from you.
Great.
But if you were talking to a woman who is like very like put off by this idea,
Yeah.
right? That like she has some view of like, you know, her husband, you know, he can't. I don't. I'm struggling a little bit to talk about this because, you know, where we were going on this line of she'll do anything. Like, I don't know how big that is, right? So I want to be careful because I don't know what anything is, right? And,
Sure.
And
I mean,
and I could imagine probably some sick, twisted things that people get into that are not healthy or good for you or like whatever that is, right? So that's why I'm trying to. So somewhere there is this kind of range of, you know, kind of basic vanilla sex up to whatever this means to be porn-like sex.
Sure.
Right. And as long as it's within that range, okay. And I think that's something couples need to talk about because it's not going to be the same for all couples.
No.
Right.
And we have, when one of us has had an idea that maybe hasn't been tried before,
Okay.
we've had discussions around it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't hesitate necessarily having discussions about sex.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So let me get back to what I was trying to ask you. So let's just say it's on this range.
Okay.
Okay.
It's in the acceptable range.
It's in whatever that is.
Okay.
I don't know. For some people it might be this big. For some people it might be this. Okay.
Sure.
But whatever that is, you know, what would you say to a wife that is like, I don't think it's that? You know, I mean, what is it gonna
Like
do?
she thinks it's outside of her box.
Well, that she shouldn't be as giving to her husband perhaps as he wants her to be.
Good question. I don't know.
Well, let me rephrase it. What would you say to her that might be motivation or benefit for
Yeah.
her to kind of rethink that and say, hey, you know what? I do actually want to meet all my husband's desires that I can.
Yeah. Well, we've said before, like, I think if a wife is struggling, she needs to focus on the things, the aspects of her husband that she does find attractive or sexy and I guess, wow, you really put me on the spot here. Without having like an actual scenario. Like, I once talked to a girl who had never gone down on a man before. And I was
Oh.
like, wow, like never? And she was like, ew. I was like, but the reverse? And she's like, well, yeah, that's nice. And I was like, well, that doesn't, like, doesn't seem quite right. That's not very balanced. And it's not a tit for tat kind of a thing, right? Like, you never, like, we don't play that game.
You and I? No.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't need to be like, well, I've done this for you. You should do that for me. But I was like, like, I don't know. That to me just like blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I guess I would ask, why? I mean, it would depend on the why. The why matters. Like, why aren't you doing that? I mean, you don't want your husband to like go out and work at McDonald's when he could be working at a tech company, like bringing in 6 figures, right? Like, why you don't want him holding back and what he's providing you? Like, why are you holding back? I guess would maybe be where I went. I'm not really sure. I've not talked through that one before.
Okay. Yeah. So I would say I think, I mean, are you vested in the relationship or not? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would kind of be like question one to me. Is like, before you get into like getting hung up on like whatever this porn like sex is defined.
Yeah.
That's not really even the question. The question is, are you vested in a relationship? And if you are, then I think you're going to do everything within your power to meet your husband's needs and vice versa. And, at times that may be outside of your comfort zone. At times, maybe you'll find you'll enjoy it. I don't know,
Yeah.
But if you're vested in a relationship, you're going to explore that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the point I was making, using different words.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Okay.
I mean, I would obviously encourage somebody to try freely giving of themselves. So I did talk to somebody once who was having a difficulty freely giving herself to her husband, but she had a massive addiction to toys when he wasn't around. And I was like, well, maybe you just put those in a box and just seek your satisfaction from your husband, and I bet things will get better.
Oh, I remember the individual you're talking about.
Yeah. And it did. I mean, and so like, yeah, I think it's important.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the toys, right? Because that is one of the things I've seen some men kind of snap back with, at the women who are kind of repulsed by this idea, and they're asking, well, like, do you have toys? Like, what are you,
Yeah.
if any of you guys own a vibrator or whatever, like, you're kind of being a hypocrite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those things should be enhancement, not replacement.
Yeah. 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 But
Yeah.
to say that, like, you're not going to give your husband the sex he desires, but you're like going to like replace the toy with desire
Yeah.
for your husband. You
Right.
will probably find it actually more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously a desire there. Like, I have a hard time with the whole, like, no, I'm not going to have sex with my husband thing. Like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, right.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's like, that's never been a problem for us. I mean, certainly
Yeah.
we've had our issues and things we've had to work through, but sex, thankfully, for one of those was just never really one of those things. And so it is hard for us to, but I would say to people, like, maybe part of the reason that we're still here and we've had this great relationship is because it's never been a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and for men, I mean, many men are really, I mean, there are a lot of, how do I want to word this? There are things that being a husband and fatherhood and all those things are, they are great joys in life. And I do think some men go, all men, especially if you're kind of in a relationship for a long time in a successful relationship, kind of realize those joys, I think, over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think as many men heading into marriage, they haven't experienced it yet, right? They don't know. They may know, and they hear other men talk about that there's just a lot of joys in kind of successfully navigating that whole like family and raising a family and taking care of family and all that sort of stuff. But they're primarily, it's sex, right? I mean, that's it. I mean, right?
Okay.
Because that's really what's like this ideally, right? You're not having kids at this point. You're not having like a guy. It's just like, I've got this chick I'm attracted to and I like having sex with her. I mean, that's the truth, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the other stuff kind of develops along the way.
Right. Yeah.
But it's really sexual attraction. So like removing that from your marriage.
Yeah. Why be married?
Yeah. And I think sex you should always be moving. How do I want to say this? You don't be afraid to be adventurous in sex, right? Like, maybe like the sex that you're having when you're first getting together, right? The first couple years is like, great, this is good, right? But like you can continue to make sex more,
For
like
sure.
I honestly think the sex that we have now is better than the sex when we were first married, right? Not to say we did when we were first married, I thought the sex was great, right? We had great sex, and I'm sure you did too. But like as I don't know how to explain it.
You got to get out of the ruts.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're trying to say. Like you got to get out of the ruts, right? Like you get into rut sex, that's no good.
What does that mean, rut sex?
Rut sex is like you get in bed, you take off your clothes, you get in bed, you have sex, you go to bed. Like over and over and over again. Like it needs to like...
Yeah. It needs to be
you need to bring
more,
something new to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I, a component we've had in our relationship, at least the entire time since we've had kids, is like we get a babysitter, we do something like we will make a night out of like we'll go to a hotel or we'll go to wherever, right? We'll go out to a nice dinner, we'll like whatever, and like that's part of the like sexual experience, right? It's like part of getting out of that rut. It's like,
it's dating.
It's dating. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Like you still got to continue to date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's the whole get dressed in more than just what you wear around the house, do something a little different than your normal routine. I mean, even that is going to make even sex in a hotel bed more exciting, right? Because there's like the whole build up and like he wants to take me out to dinner, he wants to see me do something nice.
Yeah. And I think for the guy, it's nice to like see your wife. Like, I mean, this is another thing we've talked about on here before, but like I know there's a certain group of men out there that are like, they want their wives, like if their wife goes out of the house with them, they're like turtleneck and a baggy turtleneck and sweatpants and like that is not me at all. And like I think I'm just trying to kind of Rolodex through my head here. I mean the successful relationships we know of, I don't think that's any of them either, right? It's like it is good to be attractive to your wife, right? Like I do not like if we're going out to a restaurant, right, because we are having a date that is going to end in hopefully some great sex at the end of the night, right? And let me just clarify, I don't say hope, like it will. That's understood, right? Like I don't want to confuse this with you got to take your wife out and you got to like do this whole routine to get her to have sex with you. That's not at all like that.
No, No.
if that's happening, that's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Right?
It's dating.
It's
Like
dating.
if I
It's
look
like you're-
over and there's some couple out on like their second date, like the chick is gonna look hot, right? Because
Right.
she's still trying to impress that guy, right? Like I want you looking at me and thinking I'm second date hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not first date because you don't want to like, give it all away on your first date.
No, we haven't
You
dated
gotta
since ever really.
You gotta know. I know,
Yeah.
that's why I'm joking.
Right. But like, yeah, so that's where I was going with it. It's like, it's just like building the tension, right? So like if we're going out to a restaurant, right? Like we're having a date night, right? And we're going out to a restaurant or we're doing whatever. Well, like how is it building sexual tension if, I've got you're dressed in a baggy turtleneck and sweatpants, right? Like and closed-toed shoes. And like you were saying, so then there's some other chick who's dressed there on a date and she's dressed attractively, right?
Yeah.
Some men might say that's like she's dressed like a whore or something. I mean, I see some of these guys saying this that I'm like, you guys are insane.
Well, again, this is a range thing, right? Like
it is a range. So let me back off a little bit and say like there is a range.
Yeah.
Right? Like whatever.
Most men don't find a baggy turtleneck and sweatpants sexy though.
Kanye, his wife, whatever she wore to the Grammys.
That's
like,
too much.
Yes, there's a line there that that's too much, right?
Yeah.
But the point being, like we should not go out to a restaurant together, right? And I should not, have you presented in such a way to me that I'm like, yeah, I don't find this exciting. But that girl over there who's on the second date,
Right.
she looks pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you should be dressed in a way that is tantalizing. Am I dating myself too much using that word? Is that a word people use anymore?
Well, tantalizing is the word.
Tantalizing. What did I say? Tantalizing.
I don't know what you said, but it wasn't that.
Tantalizing.
Yeah.
Right. Like it.
Yeah.
It should get my attention.
Yeah. And something that I appreciate when we go out on a date like that is like we're fortunate you have an office with your own bathroom in it. And so a lot of times you get ready in a different area than I do.
Oh,
so
in our home.
Yeah. So it's like dating. I mean, you're not coming to the door and picking me up, but generally you're ready before I am. And so you're waiting for me. And like I come out and you're like, oh, you look nice. Let's go out.
You're right. Which is kind of like a date, right?
Yeah.
It's not like we're getting ready in the same bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of have my own space and I do my girl things. And then I come out basically dressed and ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that adds to the fun. Sorry.
I've heard some certain red pill-esque people state that that dating is solely for the woman, and I say that's bullshit. I think that's bullshit. You need to keep that sexual tension there, and that's one way that you do that, right? Like,
like I want you wondering what underwear am I wearing under that? If we got dressed together, you would know.
Sure, yeah, and going out and just getting, like, I think you said it perfectly, like just getting out of the routine, right, out of the rut, like like if it's just like you're like sex now, woman, like that's okay, that's fun sometimes. It also is going to get pretty old if that's all you ever do.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think dating is hugely important. And I think how you present during dating is hugely important. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So one of the arguments that I'm kind of being reminded of as we're talking through this that I've seen a few women getting upset about is, it's like, well, I can't be the porn like sex, right? Like he's never going to be satisfied because there's always going to be someone younger, someone prettier, someone, whatever this she'll do anything line is.
Yeah, sure.
Right. That, okay. Yes, sure. But that's not you. He doesn't have you. He cares about you. And in a healthy relationship, he cares about you. And I can assure you, if you're doing, if you are trying to please your husband, that's going to be a good thing for your relationship, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he's not going to just say like, oh, well, sorry, you turned 30 and there's this 29-year-old chick over here
Yeah.
that like, you know, she looks a little better than you. But
Yeah.
I have trouble believing that. I mean, I know that sort of stuff happens, but I don't think it's the norm, right? I don't, and if you've already got a healthy relationship and you're trying to keep your relationship healthy,
Yeah.
like I guess what I could say is if you're not doing those things, there's a lot more risk that thing will happen to you.
Heck yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
like if you're not meeting your husband's desires and you're saying you're doing it, you're refusing to meet his desires because, well, he'll like at some point, no matter how hard I try, he's going to be attracted to somebody else. Well, you're already there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
I mean, at 50, sure, there's younger, prettier, but are they prettier than me when I was that age or that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you fell in love with me. Like, there's a love connection there. There's a commitment there. So as long as I'm doing the best job that I can and you're happy with that,
yeah.
like, nobody, I mean, I guess some people do, but changing relationships, it's not like changing pants. Like, people only do it because they think there's nothing left, no hope.
Well, there is a commitment. There is a commitment
Yeah.
component to marriage, right? You
Yeah.
are making a commitment to someone. So
Yeah.
like, I don't think that should be brushed over, but if you're not even trying,
Yeah. I mean, I clearly still try.
yeah, you still very much try. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I've said before, I think you're doing a damn good job. I mean, we're getting older, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to,
there's no hiding that.
yeah, we're getting older. It's just, that's part of life. But I think for, you know, the age that you are and the effort that you're putting in, yeah, I mean, I don't think I could ask anymore. And if I'm being completely honest with myself, I'm in the same boat, right? I mean, like, I'm not like, I know women do tend to kind of age a little faster than men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, it's a fact of life, but like, still, I'm aging, right? I mean, there's things about men as they age that also get not as attractive. But there's commitment there, right? And as long as you are putting the effort in, you're trying, you know, and genuinely trying, right?
Yeah.
Not like, oh yeah, I tried, but I couldn't. Like, no, like you're really trying. Like, you know.
Yeah. There's a difference between really trying and.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think for most of us, if you're going to try, you can actually do, right? There's few things you can't do.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, trying is going to be the exception and doing is going to be the rule.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so yeah, dating, very important.
Very important.
Being overly worked up and caught up about, you know, oh my gosh, they're going to find somebody younger and prettier than me. Like, I just don't think it's, I only think it's a thing in unhealthy relationships, really.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like for me, when I'm, you know, really working hard to keep my body in shape and in a condition that I like, and when I look in the mirror, I'm like, okay, I'm doing the best that I can. Like, this is it. This is the best I can do. I'm putting in all of this effort. But then I have to be like, this is what I have to work with, right? Like, this is what I'm presenting. So I'm just going to wear as little clothes as I want to wear and put it all out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's key
let
too.
me just clarify the context. We're talking about during sex, yes. Right. I don't want people to get confused.
No, like, I'm not walking around the house naked.
Well, I mean, out of the house.
Or whatever, I'm not doing that either.
Because, I mean, I think that is where I do agree, you know, when like we talk about like how your wife should dress in public is, I mean, it's, you know, she shouldn't be going out of the house presenting in a way that is going to, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not trying to impress anybody else.
No.
Right? Yeah. And I think, I would say in our relationship, generally speaking, if you and I go out together, we're going out into town, we're going to go do something, we're going to go dinner, hotel, whatever we're going to do. If people saw us and then they saw just you out in the town running errands, like they would never recognize you.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, how women will like go out with their husbands and they put in, let's say 50% effort, and they go out with their girlfriends and they put in 100% effort.
Yeah.
I am quite the reverse.
Don't trust those women.
Yeah. I mean, when I go out with the girls, I still want to represent you as your wife. So I don't want to look like a slob, but like I don't wear anything low or revealing or
most importantly, drink.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, I think that's where a lot of stuff gets in trouble.
Sure.
Sure. But
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, and yeah, I mean, not so much since we moved out to where we live now is it a thing, but in our younger years, yeah, I mean, you would have like the neighbors on our street, the women might get together and you guys would go out to dinner or something. Right.
Yeah.
So like it's, yeah, you're right. I mean, some of those women, they would go looking much better than they will look when they go out with their husband.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Yeah. Or even like equally as they look when they go out with their husband. Like that's not even a thing for me.
Yeah. It should be very the opposite of that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a fine line. I don't want to look like a slob, but I also don't want to look sexy or like I'm attracting people to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. I feel like we're getting off track here.
Yeah.
We're trying to talk about, but we do that sometimes and we ramble on here, but
rambling.
Okay. Well, let's wrap this up. We went on way longer than I intended to, but, so bottom line, I mean, women should give their husbands porn-like sex, whatever that means. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say uninhibited, like, yeah, meet your husband's desires.
Yeah.
I think it'll,
it works out for you.
It'll work out. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna endear your husband more to you. He's going to be crazier about you. He's going to, like all the things. Like I don't know, like, I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. So yeah,
it's good for everybody.
Yeah. It's good for everybody.
Yeah. Never have I ever regretted having sex with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. So, All right. Well, I think that's it. I have no idea if this will be helpful to anybody or if you're just like, what the hell, there's two crazy people talking about.
Either way.
Either way. We'll put it out there and hey, if it's of use, have at it. And if you've got any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm glad to answer them the best I can. All right. That's it. We'll see you whenever we decide to do this again.
All right.
All right.
Bye.